We plan, we prepare, we schedule in advance sports activities, festivals, get togethers, vacations, you name it, we plan it. But why is that the most essential and crucial thing that humans need, which is rest, is not something that we find important to schedule in and make room for and allocate time for? So if you watched last week's video, I addressed the sin of idling, and we cannot talk about idling without talking about rest. And so today's video, I'm going to walk you through a 7-day rhythm that I have followed in my home for the last several years, and how I find rest and schedule rest, starting all the way from Sunday all the way to Saturday, which is my Sabbath. And I am so excited because as a mother of 4 now, I am the most rested I think I've ever felt, as opposed to when I had only 1 or 2 kids. And it is a lie and a myth that I think a lot of women, especially mothers, have fallen into the trap of thinking that when you are a mother, you cannot find rest. And while yes, you may not be physically resting as much, you may be waking and nursing and caring for an infant throughout the night, or rocking your child to sleep from a scary dream while you may be interrupted from your sleep. There are so many ways that we can rest outside of physical rest. And so I really want to encourage you to lean into the season that you're in. And gosh, it's so beautiful. I am in a study right now, and there's so many older women in my study, and the wisdom that these women have. And I just can't imagine how they view me as a young mom, and how they see that that season for them is done. And so you're not going to be 70 years old waking up with a newborn. That is a season that only lasts up to a couple of years. Most kids are sleeping by the time some 1-year-olds are sleeping through the night, sometimes when they're 2, sometimes when they're 3. It is just a couple of years that you are up with these kids. It is not going to be the next 80 years of your life. So just rest assured and know that there will be a time and place and a season where you will be able to get a full 8 hours of sleep. And that will be wonderful. But right now, that might not be your season. And so let's not fight against that. Let's see other ways that we can find rest. So what you guys are going to be seeing in this video today is actually my Sunday. We take our Sabbath on Saturday, and Sunday is a really big day in our household for a couple of different reasons. It feels like an extension of our Sabbath because there are certain things that we are still taking rest from, but then there are other things that we are doing in preparation for the week that makes our week feel more restful. And I think, again, just like we schedule in every other activity and sports event and thing in our life, it is so important for us to do that with rest. And I think once you have your household in a good rhythm and you have set in place different routines, it allows for more rest, and it allows for different opportunities to find rest. And so that is something I'm huge in. Not this video though, so if that is something you're curious about, the different ways that I set up my day and schedule and whatnot, let me know down below, and I'd love to do a video on that. But there are different types of rest. There's physical rest, like I was saying. So if you are a mother, you're probably not able to experience physical rest as much as you would like. There is mental rest, sensory rest, creativity rest, emotional rest, social rest, and spiritual rest. And so I try to really focus on the weekend, specifically more so on Sunday, different ways that I can take rest. And so for me, I find that having rest from things that feel exhaustive that are during the week that I cannot, quote unquote, really stop during the week is what I try to take a break from during the weekend. So, and I'm saying weekend because our Sabbaths look very different than our Sunday, but our Sunday feels like an active rest. And so I'm trying to distinguish the two in a way, but I'll explain as I get into my Sunday. So, or I'll explain as I go through the week and get eventually over to Saturday. But I will continue in my rest of work and being on my phone, and but I do continue on with my chores and things that need to be done around the home. But this is an opportunity for me to go slow and move slow. I find that I physically move slower, and I try not to let the clock dictate my time. I try to be very event oriented versus like time oriented. And so going to church is a way that I feel like I'm able to get spiritual rest, being in the house of the Lord with other believers and fellowshipping and singing praises to the Lord together and having the Word of God read out loud and hearing and letting that penetrate our hearts is just a beautiful way to find rest. And so that to me is a huge way that I find rest. And I find that the social aspect of that is something that I really enjoy as well. And when I get home from church, usually some of our kids are napping and doing quiet time, and the baby was playing, and I was just able to do a study. And some days it feels like I can answer about 20 questions from my study in one sitting, and then other days it takes me about 45 minutes to answer half of a question. And so all of what you will see today, I do not want this to be your standard of rest, what I do in my household. My household probably looks very different than yours, and if it looks identical to mine, then I think there's something wrong here. We are all different people. We all have different children. We all have different things going on. And so this video is meant to just be an idea starter for you, a jumping point for your ability to find rest. And it might look very different than how I find rest. And so for me, I really enjoy studying God's word. It is something that I just crave, and just getting to understand the text more is just really exciting and interesting to me. And so I find a lot of rest sitting and doing this. My mind just thrives in this, and I feel restful after. My dishes are all piled up though, because we did not do any dishes on our Sabbath. And so this will be a day where I am catching up on dishes and laundry, and picking up the home and doing things that I do not do on my Sabbath. But I am not in a rush to do that. So usually when we get back from church, it's 1 o'clock. So I have anywhere between 1 to 8 to pretty much do all of these things. And so I am in no rush to finish through my study. And yes, I am taking the occasional break to snuggle with my baby, which is something I really enjoy, and putting him to nap. But then I also really enjoy the piano, and I find that playing piano is a creative way where I find rest. I love trying to learn, and boy, has it been a process to learn. It has worked and tweaked on parts of my brain that I feel like I've never really tweaked and worked on before. And so that has been really nice. So what is it that you're currently craving in a creative way? Maybe you like writing. Maybe you used to love journaling. Maybe you like to work on making bread, and maybe you want to learn how to do that. Or maybe there's a recipe you've been waiting. For me, there was a season where I was trying new recipes and trying things that are related to the kitchen over the weekend, but right now I am not in that season. I'm actually trying to spend a less amount of time, and I found that I did attempt that a couple weekends ago, and the cleanup and all of that felt really like it felt like an oxymoron. Like I was not finding rest in doing that, because my day-to-day requires a lot of that, dishes and cleaning and kitchen things. And so I'm trying to step away from that. So, but maybe for you, maybe you aren't able to ever really try new recipes. And so having 3 hours or so is a great chance for you to get to make that cake that you've been wanting to try, or make that recipe your kids have been asking for. So tap in and see where it is that you are able to be active, but still in a restful state. And then let's move on to the week. There was a period where I felt like Sabbath was just like the best day ever. I loved that I was able to find rest in that, and I was totally okay with that. But then I found myself in this trap of like just waiting to get to Sabbath. And I kind of talk about this in the idling video, but I feel like our society gets into this trap of like, oh, I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I just can't wait for the weekend and like do nothing on the weekend. Or I just can't wait to just be 65 and retire and then move to Florida and just do nothing and just tan and be at the beach all day. And I found that I was taking that and honestly applying it into a Sabbath. And it just felt wrong. And I have rest is super important for mothers. And maybe you're using idling as an escape from reality, and that's when it becomes a sin, but you probably do need some type of rest. And so I have scheduled in during the days, during my Monday through Fridays, a restful period. And so what that looks for us is I do have 2 of my kids who nap in the afternoon, usually from 1 to 3. And so 1 to 3 is a really crucial part in our home, and that is quiet time. I know probably a lot of people do quiet time, whether you have nappers or non-nappers. I think it's important for everyone in a household to have a moment of silence, a moment of alone time, and a moment of connecting with the Lord, whether that's through prayer, whether that's through reading, whether that's doing a puzzle. But I think this is really important, and it took me many years to train my children to do this efficiently and effectively. There were moments where quiet time wasn't necessarily quiet. It was space from me that I was able to do things, but my home wasn't necessarily quiet. So right now, as I'm actually doing this voiceover, is quiet time, and my home is genuinely quiet right now, which is such a praise because it took many years for us to get here. But doing quiet time in the middle of the day is just so important. It's important for you. It's important for your children. And you can be doing rest side by side. But I think to sit and use that time to sit and scroll our phones is not the best use of our time of rest. And so maybe there's a book that you could read right now. I will link some books down below that I recommend. Maybe there's things that you need prayer for or people that you could be praying for. There are many, many things to be praying for right now. And so we could spend the next rest of our lives praying, and there would still be more things that we would need prayer for. Maybe you need to get into the Word, or maybe you could just use a moment to doodle. There are so many things that we can do, maybe doing a puzzle, maybe knitting something. There are many things that we can be doing during this time. So for quiet time in our home, usually that is with me getting a chance to get into the Word again, and then I get some work done. And as much as I would love to get to read a book a little bit more, work still feels really restful and purposeful to me. So I don't see that as a bad thing. But that is what our Monday through Friday will look like in a sense of rest. And then comes our Sabbath, which is one of the most beautiful days of the week to me. Again, I'm not glorifying a day of the week, but a true Sabbath is something that my husband and I started implementing in our home 2 years ago. And this is a pivotal point for me. It has been pivotal in my motherhood to take rest and find rest one full day of the week. And God tells us to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but on the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord our God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your sons, nor your daughters, nor male or female servants, nor your animals, nor any foreigners residing in your towns. For on the 6th day the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that was in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. And so how can we make that day holy? And it's something I question and ponder all the time. And so for our household, it is a day that my husband and I do not work. We do not go on our phones. We are not on social media. And most importantly for me, it is a day that I do not do household chores. I do not do laundry. I do not do the dishes. And this was really hard in the beginning because I am in such a rhythm of doing that I had to actively, again, schedule it in and remind myself, today is not a day for that. Today is not a day for that. And I think there's something so humbling about the Sabbath, because the Sabbath was made for man, not man for Sabbath. That's Mark 2:27. So I really have to go back and forth and ask the Lord, like, humble me so I can see that things will continue on without me. There's a humility to it, because we can be so egotistic, and our ego can think like, no, work isn't going to get done if I'm not the one doing it, or this isn't going to get done and that's not going to get done. It's like the world will continue to move on whether or not you get to that laundry pile, and it will be okay. And so put the pile away, put the sponge down, and worry about it tomorrow. And so practically speaking, what that looks like, usually Friday, again, it is a day of preparation. It is a day where I get a couple of extra loads in. And if I can't do that, then I am just simply getting and collecting all the laundry and putting it in the laundry machine, but I'm not touching it until Sunday. So then come Sunday, all I have to do is put this laundry detergent in and get it to run. And so there are so many practical ways you can do this. We try not to use real dishes on Saturday. We try to do paper plates, but most of the times we forget. And so once we're done, everything just goes straight into the sink. There was a period where what I was doing on Friday was I was running the dishes off during the day, which I normally don't do. I usually put our kitchen to sleep. And so I usually run the dishes off throughout the night and empty them out in the morning. But Friday we'll do a double dip, and so I will run off what's already in there, and then once it gets run off, I go and put those away before sundown. And so on Saturday, as soon as we are done with the dish, it can go directly into the dishwasher. So we're trying to avoid dishes pretty much the whole day. Sometimes we will go out to eat for breakfast as a family, or we will go to the grandparents' house, or go to the cousins and hang out with our friends. And so I feel like I'm able to find rest from the home. And I really want to urge mothers to not feel like they need a rest from their children, because children are such a gift and a blessing that I guarantee there are other things in your life that are exhausting you outside of your children. And so find what those things are. Is it the laundry? Is it the dishes? Is it the responsibility? I take rest from scheduling and planning arts and crafts and activities for my kids. I love doing that, but it takes up so much mental space in my mind that I really enjoy when I don't have to plan and prep and do homeschool things. And so I really take advantage of that, and I don't do any of that over the weekend. Maybe for you, you would like rest from having to train and discipline the kids. Maybe you are the one that is with them day in and day out. And so maybe that's something you can explain to your husband and say, like, honey, I feel like I'm frequently the one that is doing this. Maybe on the weekends we could be more mindful of who is correcting and teaching and implementing correction with our children. So maybe the weekends it's like more heavy on you, so I can take a break from that. Maybe you need a break from comparison. Maybe you need a break from the internet. Maybe you haven't realized how much mental space in your head comparing your life to other people has taken up. And so maybe you just need rest from social media, maybe on Sunday and Saturday, but maybe every day of the week. Maybe that's just not something that you need to be doing right now. I think being online, and this is a whole nother video I've been praying about, but I'll save it for that video. So maybe you just need to take a break from your phone. Another huge one is I take rest from the clock, which sounds insane, but I am bound to the clock pretty much every day of the week because of nap routines and meetings and trying to get things and appointments done and piano lessons and Portuguese classes and all the things that we have scheduled throughout the week that are time-oriented, that I really enjoy not having to worry about being at a specific place or finishing a specific task by a specific time. And so we will loosely follow the kids' nap schedules. I'll just loosely look and see, like, are they starting to get tired? Yeah, it's probably time for them to go to bed. or for a nap. And so I will just loosely follow that schedule, but I am not looking and checking for things. Now, yes, if we have a wedding to attend, I'm not going to attend the wedding 4 hours late because I simply am not looking at the clock that day. I will be mindful of that, but it's not every weekend that we're going to wedding. Find ways that you can rest in the Lord and His work and what He's done. Think of the rest and finding rest in Him, because Jesus tells us that that He will carry the yoke for us, and that His "come to me all who are heavy burdened and need rest." Now, yes, He's talking about our souls finding rest in eternity, but I also think there's an element of that can be applied to our now and the short time that we are here on earth. And so we listen to Psalm 92. Psalm 92 is a psalm to be sung on the Sabbath, and it is beautiful. I play it all day long. I have some friends who start a Sabbath scent, and every Shabbat they light a candle, and that candle gets lit all day on Saturday. And so they have a smell that's associated with that. And I find that so beautiful. So maybe there's a specific scent that you want to diffuse, or a candle that you want to light on your Saturday. Whatever it is, ask the Lord. He knows you, and He knows your heart, and He knows your desires. So ask Him, like, Lord, what is it that I really even need rest from? Make a list. You and your husband, why don't you guys sit down and make a list? Your husband might find rest in different things, and you might find rest in different things. How can you both work together as a team to find rest together? Maybe you can nap for a little bit, and then your husband can nap for a little bit. Maybe your husband can take the kids to the park or a play date, and you can snuggle with your baby longer than you might usually do. Or maybe the other way around. Work with your spouse to find that rest and communicate to each other what's important to you and the desires of your heart, and ask the Lord how you can find rest in Him and lay things at the feet of Jesus. So I pray this blesses you. Please let me know what you need rest from. I pray that you guys are able to lift each other up in prayer in the comments below. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.